We are talking about single during the holidays, how to deal with the holiday blues. All right, so check it. You guys are probably wondering, yes, I have on a ring. Why am I talking about this? And I am a married woman. So those of you who don't know who I am, I'm Charbria Shine. Hello. And about 5 years ago, a little bit, actually more than 5 years at this point now, I started a group called Single and Satisfied, the Single and Satisfied movement. And what it was, I started off blogging about my single journey and doing YouTube videos about my single journey and how to, enjoy your life as a single, how to live for God, how to be single and satisfied as a single woman. And that developed into a movement, into a ministry, into a group for single women. And so in this group, what we did was we encouraged each other, not just during the holidays. We started off by doing a Single and Satisfied 7-day challenge where we did fun challenges that uplifted us during the holiday season, during the Valentine's Day season, but all throughout the year. And I started that and I continued it throughout the years. And actually, even as a newlywed, I continued that because I wanted to continue to encourage single women. And last year was my last Single and Satisfied 7-day challenge during the Valentine's Day season. And so the reason why I do this is because, again, I'm a newlywed, so I'm not too far removed from being single. I remember how it was to be single, especially in my 30s. I remember, sometimes getting the holiday blues or feeling like God forgotten about me or like, what to do with myself in this season or in this time. And in the chat, you guys, put how many of you guys want to be married one day? Because I kind of just want to know my audience, because I don't assume that just because you are single that you desire marriage, and that's okay. Some people desire marriage, some people don't, and I think it's okay either way. I believe marriage is a choice, and I also believe that two people coming together in marriage is a beautiful thing, but so is someone who is standing boldly in their purpose. Can you guys hear me? Give me a hands up if you can hear me, because I just got something that said it was blocked again, but hopefully you guys can hear me. Somebody let me know if you can hear me. And so pretty much, let me know how many of you guys would like to be married. And again, I just wanted to encourage and uplift the singles during the holiday season because I understand how it can be. I remember holidays where, I was the only one in my family that was still single, literally, and I was in my 30s, and it would just be like all the holidays come by, and I would just feel out of place. Nothing that they would do. My family is lovely. They love me. They're supportive. I'm the baby of the family, so they give me extra love and extra favoritism, as some people say. But I still felt that. I still felt like, man, people are married, people have kids. I just feel out of place. Even at my church, everybody young was married. I just felt out of place. And so obviously I did desire marriage. So it was kind of like really something in my heart that I felt like was missing. And so for me, I had to get out of that because I was tired of being miserable holiday after holiday after holiday. And just to rewind a little bit more about myself, after I started the movement, I wrote a book talking about my single journey and so many things about just healing and wholeness. And I have one chapter that's actually called The Journey of a Loveaholic. I go through my relationships, what I learned from them, how I was idolizing love and being in a relationship, how I rebounded just to be with someone, and how that ultimately hurt and harmed me, made it even worse, not better. Because we've all heard the best way to get over one man is to get a new one. It's not always true. We know a lot of times that's not true because we didn't take the time to heal. And so in my book, I talk about so many things, and I'll talk about that later, but I wrote so many books for singles, and I even have more that's coming out that were supposed to come out last year, just to encourage them, like, how do I live for God in my singleness? I always say to women, create a life that you don't feel like you need rescuing from. But somebody might say, well, girl, how do you do that? Like, how do you create this life where you feel whole, you feel content, even in being single, if you desire marriage? And so I'm going to be looking at my notes. It says what to do when you're struggling during the holiday season. And again, for me, I'm the type of person that, I might get sad about something or down about something, but ultimately I'm not going to stay there because I know that I have the power and the authority to change the situation in my life. And again, just like everybody else, I have my down moments. I could get depressed. I can get sad, but I had to come to grips with myself and say, okay, there's no man in my life right now. So am I going to stay miserable because there is no one in my life? And to be honest, I had to answer that for myself and be real and say, absolutely not. It was hard because I desired it so much. You know how it is around this season, ladies, is Thanksgiving season is, the Christmas, and it's cold where I live, so they call it cuddle season or bay season or whatever. You see all these cute little pictures on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, a couple dances on TikTok. You see everybody in their matching PJs, or they have their Christmas holiday pictures matching, sweaters, and you could feel away. I get that. I understand that. And I remember that. You could feel like, well, dang, like, when is it my turn, God? Like, have you forgotten about me? And God is saying, absolutely not, but it is in his timing and in his season, and you can have it if you desire it, but he wants you to learn how to be whole within yourself and whole within him. And I really had to learn that my fulfillment didn't come from a relationship. And though I feel these emotions, though I have this desire, though I see these pictures of other couples and I want that for myself, it is okay to want that. It's not a bad thing. It's okay to desire that. And honestly, if you desire it, I believe God put that desire in your heart, and he promises to give you the desires of your heart, but in his season, in his timing. And what are you going to do right now in this season to enjoy your life, to trust him with your life? And I have some practical ways like to get through the holiday blues, but I also have some spiritual tips as well. But I would say a lot of times for me, because I'm selfish by nature, even married, I'm selfish by nature. A lot of us are selfish by nature. It's that sinful human nature where it's all about us. We think about us. We want to be happy. Nothing wrong with wanting to be happy. But what I learned, and I'm still trying to learn it even more and operate it even more, even as a married woman, is when I take my mind off of myself, I have so much more joy. What better thing to do during the holiday season but to take your mind off of you? Because even though you may not have that relationship that you want, you have so many other things that people don't have, to be grateful for, whether that's you have a place to stay. And it might not even be a place that you want to stay, but you have somewhere to stay. You have food to eat. Might not be lobster every day, but you have food to eat. And again, this ain't easy, because I could find myself the same way, like, oh, I'm down in the dumps. I'm not where I want to be in life. This isn't, even as a married woman, you can find yourself discontent. So don't let the enemy of your soul fool you and think that, oh man, when I get, somebody special in my life, all of my woes are going to go away. All of, my depression or my discontentment is going to go away. No, the enemy is going to even try you when you have that special person. Because then it could be like, man, my friends, they went on a honeymoon that I can't even afford. Or they went to Bali for Christmas. We can't afford that. It's always something that you can want or that you can desire. So you have to learn how to figure out how to be content and grateful for what you have. Nothing wrong with aspiring for better or more, but learning how to be content. So back to, doing stuff for other people. In the holiday season, I actually did. I learned how to go get a group of women and go to the nursing home. I learned how to do Christmas caroling. I learned how to do Operation Christmas Child, where you gather items for those kids overseas who don't have anything. Or doing, I believe it's like I think it's called something Angel, where they have the tree and you take it. It's like a little thing on a tree. It has the request of a family who's in need. A lot of that stuff I did do, or volunteered in my church, did different things because it helps fill that void or that need, so, or even that loneliness sometimes. And it brought me great joy. Why? Because my mind wasn't on myself. And another thing is sometimes we feel lonely, or you could feel lonely in your singleness. Make it a point to make plans with people. Like for me, I would be like, I'm so lonely. I sometimes do that in my marriage. I'd be like, with my friends, be like, I need a girl's day. I'm so tired of being alone. I'm lonely, or, I need to get out. But I don't take the time out of my schedule to call people to make plans. If you know you get sad around this time, be proactive. Before the season starts, take the time to make plans with other people, whether that's coworkers, family members, friends. Again, if you say you don't have friends, you got to make yourself friendly so that you can gain friends. But even if you don't, you can volunteer, like I said, and find organizations to be a part of where you're helping and giving and serving your community. And believe me, when you do those things, it opens you up to meeting great people that you can be friends with, that you can do life with. And I had to learn that, because I would stay isolated, because for the most part, I stay pretty busy, and I would stay isolated and complain about being alone. Well, you got to go out. You got to get out. You got to, go to different things. Sometimes, even as a single, like I had to learn it's okay to go by myself, like to the movies, take myself out to dinner, or go to an event by myself, a play, a church event, like a luncheon, a women's event. And it was so uncomfortable at first, till I got comfortable in my own skin, and I was comfortable with, hey, it's okay. So I had to learn to love myself in my singleness. I had to learn to be okay with me. Because let me tell you, if you're not okay with you, when you get that special person in your life, you're still not going to be okay. You temporarily, absolutely, but then you're still going to find out you're just not comfortable with you. So now you're bringing that same insecurity or whatever issues you have into that relationship, and now it's magnified because there's another person who sees that dysfunction and who can point it out, right? A lot of times we don't point out our own dysfunction, but when you're married, it's like a mirror showing you, girl, you need to work on selfishness. You need to work on X, Y, Z, whatever it might be. So again, I'm not, trying to lecture you into feeling bad that you might have the holiday blues or feel lonely. It's natural. It's normal. Again, because you're seeing all this holiday frill. And again, you can create that for yourself. I remember, getting a group of girlfriends and saying, let's go out and let's wear ugly sweaters. Create your own fun. And I have to remind myself of this because I live in Northwest Indiana, and to me, it's one of the most boring places on earth. But my husband reminds me, you have so much energy. You are a trailblazer. You love throwing events. So do it. You have to create that fun because this town is not that fun, in my opinion. I wanted to move to a big city, but I feel called to where I'm at. So it's like, I have to learn and continually, because sometimes I start grumbling and complaining again when we get back to this cold season, even as a married woman. And I have to remind myself, I'm in control of my life. I'm able to create a life that I love. And it's the same with you. Yeah, it's going to take some effort. It absolutely does. Because to be real, it's easier to complain, to be depressed, to feel lonely. It's just easier to wallow in our pity party. But to take action, and that's what I did as a single woman. I was like, I'm tired of being tired. I'm tired of being lonely. And it wasn't like I was single, meaning I was dating somebody or a man was in my life. No, y'all, I was single. No man in my life. I was not dating. I mean, I had a season of dating, but maybe 2 or 3 years before I met my husband, I was not dating anybody, not even a date, not even a phone call, not even text. No, I was single. So I really had to learn how to feel that time. But I'm so grateful because being alone was amazing for me because it helps me to learn myself. It helps me to grow. It helps me to realize, what do I like and dislike? What are my strengths and weaknesses? What are things that I actually need to work on before I do get married? I learned how to enjoy my own company, take myself to the movies or watch a whole, season on Netflix and have popcorn, order pizza, and just get in my little fuzzy PJs and have a great night by myself. And so that's also great for those of you who want to be married, because then when you are married and your husband can't always spend time with you, he doesn't always do what you want, you can't, he's not perfect, and no one is, you find that out, then you still learn how to still create your own joy. You don't depend on that other person. Obviously, your husband should bring joy into your life, but they're not going to complete you or completely fulfill you. And you have to learn how to create that on your own. And again, we know we're human. We can have up and down moments. I still do, even as a married woman. But I try to remind myself, and my husband reminds me all the time because he knows my motto is create a life you don't need rescuing from. He reminds me all the time, you have control over that. Because even me, I try to fall into a slump. Like I said, when it starts getting cold, yes, it tries to come on me too. Those blues, for me, it's not holiday blues, but just the cold blues, the winter blues. And even me, I have to be okay, find things that bring you a little bit of joy in the season. These are little funny, quirky things, but this is what I like. I love a fuzzy warm blanket. I love wrapping around myself, putting on some cute fuzzy socks and my big oversized fuzzy robe. It makes me feel cozy when I'm cold. And so those are little things, and watching a nice little movie. Those are things, like a Christmas love movie. Those are little things that kind of bring some joy into this cold season. Or the other day I read a book. I literally read an entire book in a couple hours. Those are just some things that bring me joy in the season. But what brings you joy? And again, I mentioned helping people. So for me, this is bringing me joy, sitting on here for this hour and encouraging someone else, uplifting someone else, because it's not all about me. And I'm realizing that when I take my mind off myself, it brings me more joy. Because ultimately, our gifts, our talents, our skills, the joy that we carry is supposed to be a blessing to others. And so those are just a few things that in my single season, helps me through. And so I'm going to see, it says find joy in the small things. I'm just reading my notes. And so small things, again, be intentional about spending time with others. And my sister helped me with this years ago. She's like, around this time, you get sad. So be intentional. And she told me that, she's like, make plans ahead of time so that in the heat of the moment, you know, like I could say, oh man, it's Saturday, I have no plans. Well, you know, the weekend's coming up every weekend. So ahead of time, a month before, get with your friends and call them, text them, say, hey, let's go to a movie and dinner on this day. Or if you don't have a lot of money, because sometimes you're on a budget, that's cool too. Hey, let's have a girls' night. Let's watch rom-coms, or let's watch whatever you like, action films, or let's do a book club. Let's read this book together and chat about it. Let's get coffee on every Tuesday. Like whatever it is that you like. Sorry guys, something is in my eye. I have really long lashes, guys, and they try to act up every now and then. But find those things again that you find that are joyful. And if you don't have friends, sometimes I get it. You're not in high school anymore. You're not in college. You're beyond those years. Maybe you are. I know I'm way past those years. You can even join virtual groups. It's so many things out there. If you're a part of church, there's probably something you could join in church or in your community, or start something yourself. For me, that's what I had to do. I started the Single and Satisfied movement because at my church, there was nothing for singles. They never really even addressed singles. And I was like, okay, this is a problem. This is something that I want to address. This is something that's needed. And when I started blogging about it, it was actually kind of a shock that a lot of women felt the exact way I felt and were struggling with a lot of the exact same things that I was struggling with. And so we were able to come together and talk about these things and, you know, vibe on that level. And even some people that don't live where I live, it was like a virtual community. And so we were able to really relate. And sometimes that's all you need. You need someone to relate to talk to vent with, but not just vent. After you vent, someone to encourage you and pray with you or hang out with you. It's so many things, you know. And so find joy in some of the small things in your life. And you may have to recreate those things. Like me personally, you know, I'm a little bit more high maintenance. I like the glitz and the glamour. I like doing a lot of nice things that cost money. Keep it real. My husband's simpler. And so, you know, for me, my issue, even in my singleness, was like, I want to do all these grandiose things, which is nothing wrong with that. But if my budget does not account for that, then I have to be creative and find other things to do that's not killing my budget, right? And so even in marriage, I'm learning that, right? And so that's why I'm big on like creating your own fun, whether that's hanging out at home, having a pizza night, having an ugly sweater gathering at your house and everybody bring a snack. Like, there are things that you can do, because I did them. I created all kinds of different things when I was single just to have fun. And it's so important to find things that you enjoy, find things that you like. And honestly, on the spiritual side, we have to know where our help comes from. We have to know who we are and whose we are. We belong to God. And if you're a believer, if you're a Christian, you know that our identity is not in our relationship status. As hard as that may seem or feel sometimes as a woman, it will never be in your relationship status. And it's so important to know that even if you're married, God forbid, but say if you're married and then you break up, you get a divorce, God forbid, that's not going to happen to anybody. But just say, you know, that happened to somebody. Then what? Now you're back to square one. Now you lose identity? Absolutely not. And that's why it's so important as a single woman to learn that your identity is in your creator and that you are who you're supposed to be. Like, create that woman who doesn't need a man. Not that you don't want a man. It's different than needing a man, right? I didn't need a man. I desired a man. You see what I'm saying? It's very different. And I knew I didn't need a spouse. I knew that. I knew that I could live a joyful life, be complete in who God created me, and achieve a great purpose that God has for me without a husband. But apparently, because I'm married now, the husband was part of the package deal. There was a season in my life where I didn't want to be married. I was doing the Single and Satisfied movement, and I was fine with it. And I was content, and I was like, okay, Lord, I'm fine with that. And then my heart changed years after that to desiring a mate again. And I'm like, what is this? But that desire came, and the beauty of it is the word says, you know, as you delight yourself in the Lord, he will give you the desires of your heart. And for me, what that tells me, like, the more that I'm in God's presence, the more that I get to know God, he puts that desire, his will, the desires that he has for my life, he puts that desire in my heart. For example, he put the desire for me to do the movement in my heart because it was part of his will for me. Okay, and for marriage, if you have that desire, it's not ungodly. Don't let somebody tell you it's ungodly or that it's not going to happen. But you do have to give that desire to the Lord and thank him for it. You know, the power of life and death is in the tongue. The word tells us that. And so instead of thinking, oh, I'm never going to get married, I'm almost 40. Well, you're discounting yourself now because God is not going to work against your confession. He gave you power, dominion, and authority to speak life or death over your own life. And it really takes the power out of everyone else's hands. Sometimes we feel powerless, but we have to realize as Christians, as believers, God has given us all power. He's given us dominion through Jesus Christ, not through us, but he's given us the power of life and death. And we can create our world with our tongue and with our words. And it's so important to remember that because, you know, I started thanking God for my husband and thanking him for the qualities that I wanted and speaking it out loud, even when people were negative about it. I spoke the word of God. I spoke what I wanted. I didn't speak how I felt, and I didn't speak what I saw with my natural eyes. I spoke what I wanted, and I thanked God for that. And so that's something important. That's a little tip for those who desire marriage, because again, I know everyone doesn't. Let's see. It says, take your mind off of you, volunteer, help someone else. We kind of talked about that. I just feel like that's a way of life, period. When I'm starting to feel depressed or sad, and again, as I told you, it tries to come to me around this season, I realized that I need to start giving to someone else. I need to start being a blessing to someone else. And that's why I decided to do this, like take my mind off of me because it's not all about me. And in being a blessing to someone else, God always blesses you. It's not just about getting the blessing, but it's about being blessed to be a blessing. I have a testimony about being single and unsatisfied and then learning how to be satisfied in my singleness and loving it, to being able to receive the promise, which was a godly husband who adores me, who supports me, who I couldn't have asked for a better partner. That's a God thing. And so because I have that testimony and that experience of, man, you know, how did it feel still being single in your 30s, or people thinking you're weird? Because people thought I was weird because I stopped dating. I wasn't having sex. I lived in purity. You know, me and my husband waited to marital sex. You know, people think that that's just weird. And even in the Christian world, a lot of Christians still believe that's weird, even though that's according to God's word. Unfortunately, a lot of people aren't living according to God's word. And so I know that that's not a popular stance in the society we live in, but I'm not here to be popular. I'm here to please my God and to live for him. And so because of that, it was a lot of ridicule that I dealt with, but I didn't care. It was my life. And, you know, God blessed me, not just because I feel like I was faithful, because I wasn't perfect, you know, but because God knew I wanted to honor him. That was my heart. And the thing about God is when you honor him, he's going to honor you. He's going to bless you beyond your wildest imagination. He's going to do an Ephesians 3:20 on you. And so it's so important that even in our singleness, you get around some like-minded women. And if you don't have that mind to live for God, to wait for God, get around someone who can encourage you, even if it's just virtually like this, because it will totally change your mindset and it will totally set you up for the promises of God in your life. That's what you want. If you're single and you desire marriage, you don't want just any man. You want the man that God has for you. And I do believe in that. And some people don't, but the word of God says it's according to your faith. I did not believe that I had to date randoms for me to meet the right man. I said, okay, Lord, you know my address, you know where I'm at. It's he who finds a wife that finds a good thing, not the other way around. I'm not going to be out here searching desperately and seeking. I'm going to live my life. I'm going to live for you. I'm going to, you know, be fulfilling my purpose, becoming a better woman for me first. And then when it's the right time, God, you know my address. Like, I'm not going to stress about it. You know I desire a husband, and that's exactly what you're going to give me. And that's exactly what he did. I was not searching or seeking. He found me. It's a very peculiar story, but I love our love story because only God did that. And so if you desire marriage, trust the Lord with that desire. Give it to him. It's a holy desire, meaning there's nothing wrong with it. God created marriage. And so give that desire to him. Let him know you desire it. Write your list out. What do you desire in a mate? There's nothing wrong with that. And again, you know, you want to make sure that it's not a superficial list. It's okay to put some stuff that's like for vanity's sake, I suppose, like his looks or whatever. But make sure there's some really important things on there, because you can have a really cute, fine man who doesn't treat you right, who lacks integrity, who has no character, or someone who's wealthy but doesn't serve God, and they don't know how to love God, so they don't know how to love you. It's very important to kind of know what you want and to take your petitions to the Lord. And it's very important to not be superficial in your desires, because one thing I always tell women is a man who truly honors and loves God. God can take him and mold him and make him a multimillionaire. But a multimillionaire who does not serve God and lacks integrity and character, he can lose that at any time. Or he can keep it and be cheating on you. Would you want that? Absolutely not. So for me, the integrity of my man's heart, that was what was most important to me, and his relationship with God, because I know that that man is going to be successful in life, because the word says everything he set his hands to do shall prosper. So I know I can build with my husband. And so those are just a little bit of tips for those who desire marriage, who might feel like, how to wait on God for their husband, how to believe for it. The thing is, you're going to get discouraged at times because we're human, but you have to get back up and keep declaring the word, keep thanking God for it, and keep pouring into your own life, into your own personal development as a woman and as a woman of God. It says, trust God for your mate, but create a life that you don't feel like you need rescuing from. I kind of touched on that. Oh my God. When I was single, I really started pouring into my life. I mean, I started doing some of everything. If you know me now, I'm married, and you still see that I'm busy all the time, because I'm just a person that loves to do things, and I'm a creator and a creative person, so I love to be productive. And I grew up that way. Since elementary school, I have been in 1,000 events or 1,000 programs at once. Like, that's just my life, and that's what I'm used to. That's what I thrive off of. And that may not be you, and that's okay. But be busy about your life. Be busy about your development, meaning learn new skills. Whether it's, you might want to go back to school, you might want to start a new trade, you might want to start a new hobby, you might want to start a business on the side, whatever it is, you might want to go back and learn how to swim, it's so many things, right? Do those things. Map it out, plan it out, and do those things. And I would definitely say, as a single, now I'm talking about those who desire marriage, get your finances in order, please. I was a spender. I'm still a spender. But I'm learning how to spend wisely. I'm married now. But I've always been a spender. As I said, I was the baby of the family, so I will admit, I was spoiled. So that carried over into my adult life. And so spending money was like me drinking water. It was like nothing. And so, my mother told me, like, start saving for my wedding at one point. And at that time, I was not even thinking about marriage. I was like, I'm single and satisfied. I don't want a man. I'm not going to be, saving no money for my wedding. Unfortunately, I didn't listen to her. She tried to tell me several times. And that next year, I got married. And it was so crazy because it was quick work. It was like I met him, and within a year we got married. And so the Lord was trying to speak to me through her, but I was hard-headed. I was not listening, because in my mind, like, I'm not even thinking about marriage. So why am I worried about marriage? But even if you don't want marriage, get your finances in order. It's always good to have your emergency fund, and it's always good to have a savings account no matter what stage you're in life. Things happen, and you want to be prepared. And how much greater being prepared if you come into marriage and you got a little something, right? And again, I know a lot of women are like, well, I'm going to marry somebody rich. It don't always happen like that. And if it does, how much more attractive to that man that, hey, wow, my wife, she's not just coming, with hands out. She actually has something to offer as well. He may not use it, but because he's already got it. However, it's just good to come, with something to the table. And not just financially, we know spiritually and so many other areas. That's what I mean. Work on yourself. And again, if you desire marriage, it's okay. You still want to become a better woman for you, to thrive in your life, to go to the next level in your life, whether that's in your career, your relationships with your friends, your family, at your job, or you want to start that business, or you just want to be a better cook, whatever it might be, start working on those things. But the biggest thing, that I just want to say, I understand the holiday blues. I understand. Again, I am a newlywed, and even in my fight for being single and satisfied, the enemy of my soul every time around this year would try me. After a while, y'all, it didn't even work, because I started to really realize who I was in God and what God had for me. And I knew that those pictures on Instagram or Facebook with everybody taking their holiday photos, or, their little holiday vacations, or the matching sweaters, it didn't faze me anymore, because I'm like, oh, that's so cute. Don't be jealous. And yes, oh, that's so cute. My day is coming. And even when I didn't even desire marriage anymore, it was, oh, that's so cute. Give the emoji, celebrate them. You want to be happy for other people. And if you feel envious or jealous, it's okay. Take that to God. Lord, I'm struggling. I feel envious. I feel jealous. Forgive me. I know you're faithful. I know you have this for your timing. I thank you for my husband. I thank you for my season. You got to flip thing around. Now, is that easy? No, but it's worth it. And actually, I shouldn't say it's not easy. We just have to have the discipline to do it, because it's easier to wallow in our pity party. I feel like it's easier to just complain and say, God, is it my time? My turn? Like, I remember when I was 27, I'll never forget it. Me and my sister and my mother went to a concert. It was a Christmas concert, actually, this huge festival. And it just seemed like it's probably the enemy illuminating this in my mind, or making me feel this way. It felt like everybody was young and everybody was married, and I was just becoming old because I was 27, almost 30, in my mind. And it was all these Christians, and they were doing ministry together, and a singer too. So they were singing, one person was playing the guitar, the wife was singing, or they were doing ministry, or they were there at the concert together. It was everywhere, and I got so frustrated. I got angry, I got envious, and I got mad at God. And I was like, God, it's not like I'm trying to be out in these streets, sleeping around with. No, I want a man. I want a husband. I want to do it the right way, but you don't even send that to me. What's wrong with me? Why this is fair? I remember that, and I went home and I cried. I'll never forget that, because that was at a point where I really wanted to be married. Honestly, I was not single and satisfied. I had been, but then I would go back and forth, and that may happen, right? Because we have emotions. But I really cried to God, and I prayed, and just crying out and venting to him turned into just a vulnerable moment where I was able to really just cry out to God. What I loved about my season is I learned how to really be vulnerable with the Lord, really cry out to him, really just give him grief for that exchange of joy. Where it says, I may endure for a night, but it comes in the morning. Like, yeah, I cried myself to sleep, but in the morning I felt that joy. I was able to get God assurance, God comfort, because it's something that happens when you have those moments with God and you talk to him being real about feelings, not trying to cover it up. He knows that you might be struggling, if you're miserable, if you're struggling with sex addiction, whatever it is, and pornography, whatever it is, masturbation. I'm getting now, but I'm being real, because that's how my mom was. I was always being real about stuff. Whatever it is, being vulnerable enough to take it to God and say, Lord, here's my mess. I'm struggling, or I'm hurt, or I'm pissed off. Whatever it is, I was always honest. Easy at first. I'm a kind of, it's always like, I can handle this. I can do this myself. And I still have like that. I'm not even going to lie to you. That's something I really have to try to kill, because I'm still like in woman type thing.